So a couple videos ago or so, I showed off a new feature I was pretty happy with, which is film holders. So if you're using a large format camera and you got a bunch of film holders and you're like me and you've got paper all over the place to track the various states and you have a bunch of them, for me anyway, it was getting a little bit cumbersome to track. So I built this feature where if I'm not immediately like processing film, I can go here and track the states of various holders. So it worked pretty well. The problem was if you're doing a bunch of work, so I shot like, I don't know, 12 film holders one day, which is crazy for me. But say I did that and I kept, update their, track my changes or what have you. Every time I would click one of these buttons, it would cause a page load, which is a little cumbersome if you're doing more than a handful. So I've been working on that. And on the back end, for those in the know, it's the usual. It's just JavaScript, Ajax, and improving the API for the website. And anyway, the end result is that now everything is super cool and fluid. So I don't have to, all these would be page loads. And so since I'm at the bottom of this kind of large list, usually when it loads the page, it goes all the way back up to the top, and I hadn't optimized that very well. And even if it went back here, it's kind of a slow process, and now it's like super quick. So that's a huge improvement, at least for my workflow. The only thing that's maybe lacking that could be improved is that if you want to change the film that you would typically load in the film holder, that's what the reload button does. So if you had a film loaded in there and you click reload, it just reloads the last one. So, shows it here. That works pretty well for me because I tend to use the same film holders with the same films. So I don't have to go in and change that very often. But if you do have to change it, it's still kind of the old school way. And it's a little cumbersome perhaps. And I could probably improve that at some point. For now, this is still an improvement from what it was. And, if you tend to use the same films or you don't change them very often in your film holders, yeah, this certainly is an improvement for where it was. I've also done the same thing to FilmStocks. So if you're tracking FilmStock on the app, normally it should track that for you automatically. So once you have your rolls or sheets in here, as you log films, it will know to sort of decrement these. There might still be a few edge cases here and there, or if you don't want to track that, I haven't exposed that as a user preferences feature, but you can actually turn that off so you can just track things manually. If either way, if you need to adjust the rolls or whatever, it used to be you can go here and you'd click these buttons. Delete actually didn't exist, so you couldn't delete the film. You just, if it was zero kind of thing. So I've added that as well. But now you can also just increment and decrement without having to reload the page. And I know this seems a little maybe trivial now, but before all of these would be page loads, and especially when you're updating sheets, which tend to be at the bottom of the list, oh man, it was a huge pain. And so now it's very fluid, very convenient. It makes updating my film much easier. So it's pretty nice feature. And of course you can delete these. It doesn't really matter what the value is. If you want to delete it, it's gone. So yeah, those are two really nice features that I've been working on. And the having to do it that way also kind of led me to starting to add more JavaScript-y, fluid kind of things to other parts of the website. For example, binders. This also allowed me to do things like better validation and having like delete features. So, you just saw you can't delete a binder that has stuff in it. You can delete empty binders. Same for projects. So I can't delete this one, can delete that one, and then I can add a new one. I will probably be rolling out those fluid kind of features in various parts of the app. I'm probably not going to do it. I don't know. I might do it here next. It's just this is really complicated. So I kind of want to work my way up to that. And there's other places like talked about shutter speed test, I think in the last video. And that would be nice to have it maybe a little bit more fluid there. It's not a huge deal, but the developing section too. So this is a place where, well, it needs kind of work in general, but this is a place where I could see it being a little bit more fluid. So we'll kind of see where that goes. I really kind of like the approach. It helps with form validation, which is another kind of thing that needed to be improved. One thing I noticed is that I sort of know how to use the app because I wrote it, but if you're like a new person, there's things I maybe didn't think about how people might use it or what input they might want to put in for like shutter speeds or stuff like that. And validating that without using JavaScript it can be done, but it's a little tedious and it's not a great user experience. So I want to improve that as well with JavaScript, and I'll be you'll be seeing sort of these changes as I roll them out. All the changes that you just saw are actually not on the public version of the website yet. I will be adding them. I know I said that the last couple times too, that I'm kind of bad about updating it publicly. Part of the reason is I don't want to change stuff too fast, and there's not a lot of people using it, so it's not really that big a deal. It's not a high priority for me, but if people are interested in using it, especially with these new features, certainly let me know, and I can sort of double up my efforts. I think one thing that will change is I will change the sign-up process a little bit, just to make it a little bit more fluid, both for the user and for me, sort of administering the website and what have you. So that's probably will need to get done before I really sort of roll things out in full force. But as noted before, you can run this on your own. It's open source. I don't have the link here on the video, but it's in GitLab. Maybe I'll put a link at the bottom of the video in the comments or whatever, free to get to. But you can download it, install it on a Raspberry Pi or a Linux, wherever you want to put it. You don't have to use the hosted version. You certainly can, and again, if there's interest in it, then I will, do maybe a better job about keeping it up to date. For now, I've just been kind of worrying about improving features under the plan of adding polish and making it easier to use, so that it as a sort of public thing, it will be easier for people to mess with who aren't necessarily technical. So anyway, that's the plan. Just a short video showing those new features. I'll be continuing to work on those and pushing those and other features out kind of as I see fit. There's no kind of rhyme or reason, really. Right now, I'm doing a lot of the JavaScript work. There's some other features I want to put in place. Like, I'd really like to add some way to represent movements for large format, and maybe a better print mechanism, because the print mechanism works. It's just, I'm using Firefox right now, for example, but Chrome's better at printing, and I'd rather generate a PDF so you can just print that. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. But more features are coming down. I think for the short term, though, I'm going to continue to add more of these fluid things, just to make the website feel like it was made in 2019 instead of 1998. So there you go. That's about it for now. I'll just go ahead and press stop recording and, see you in the next video, I suppose. Everybody says that. It's a dumb way to end a video. Anyway, I'm going to press finish. Until next time.